All right, everybody, welcome to this free training today on May 20th. So I'm Paula Dreyer for any of those who I have not met yet. And I just want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your day to join me and learn a little bit about the flamenco style today, which is very dear to my heart and just a really intriguing type of sound for me. So I have a master's in piano performance with a chamber music emphasis, chamber music performance. And then after I received my master's, I started studying flamenco and Latin music with a dear colleague and friend of mine named Chus Alonso. He's from Spain, and he writes music that is very flamenco and Latin based, and a lot of it sounds like the guitar. So a lot of piano music that has that flamenco sound is very much inspired by guitar sounds. So we'll be exploring some of those techniques with sort of like a strumming sort of effect, which is very fun. So this is not just me talking. Hi, Letitia, good to see you. It's really a class. So I hope you can be at your piano if you are able, and you might want to grab a pencil. And I hope you have the handout that is called Flamenco Sounds. So that is the main one that we'll be working off of today. And then just in terms of a little housekeeping, most of you are probably very familiar with Zoom, but if you're not, where it says view, if you choose speaker view, it will have me be much bigger, and then you will be able to see my piano keys easier rather than having the full gallery view. So if you're able to find speaker view, I would recommend that. All right, so just a quick raise of hands. I'm gonna go back to gallery quickly. Has anybody listened to flamenco piano music before? Little bit, Anne. Can anybody name any flamenco pianists? All right, so it's kind of like an obscure, a little bit obscure. There's not too many of them that I'm aware of, but the most well-known that I highly recommend you listen to is Chano Dominguez. So that's C-H-A-N-O, Dominguez, which I would guess is D-O-M-I-N-G-U-E-Z. And he very much combines jazz and flamenco sounds. And he is incredible. If you live in an urban area and you see that he is coming to perform, I highly recommend it. It would probably be one of your most favorite shows you've ever seen. So I heard him play in the San Francisco Bay Area with a flamenco dancer and singer, and they're really just incredible. So highly recommend you listen to Chano Dominguez. Okay, so the first thing we are gonna try, I think everyone is on mute, but you'll wanna be on mute so that's, you're just in the privacy of your own home, listening to your own sounds, and then you'll be able to hear me. I won't go on mute. So the first thing we are going to try is just the first 5 notes of the flamenco Phrygian scale. So it's like if you think of an A major 5-finger pattern, we have a C sharp, right? But what gives it that flamenco sound is we're going to add a B flat. So that augmented second in there is what gives it that flavor. And I highly recommend using pedal. So you can think of just an A drone in the low bass. And I want you to just, I'm just going higher. I'm just doing either A or E in the left hand. Doesn't really matter the left. You just want to explore those 5 tones in any sort of order. With that that drone, so very important to keep it in the pedal. And then that strumming I was talking about, I do it so much where it's just the 4, 3, 2, 1 for your fingers. And it doesn't have to be super clear, it can be pedaled. And you just think of peeling your fingers to the side. And it gives it that nice guitar strumming effect. Okay, so just play a low A drone. And play around with those 5 notes of the 5-finger A Phrygian pattern. You can do clusters, sometimes together. You can do all 5 of them together. Go up and down, strum, alternate. It's always a fun one. Okay, so I'm gonna go on mute myself and just play around with that for about 30 seconds. And then I'll meet you back here. How's everyone doing so far? Yes, any questions? Okay, so we're gonna move to the next little mode, which is the B flat Lydian. So here we're gonna just think of a B flat major 5-finger pattern. Nice and easy, just B flat and E flat in there. Now to make it Lydian and to give it that special flavor, now we're gonna raise the 4th note to an E. So now we're gonna put a B flat drone and mix up those five notes. And don't worry about rhythm. It's really just exploring. And I like to do just some sort of 5th in the left hand. Either doing the B flat or the F. And then you can think in little phrases. So what will help with that is if you think of a nice long resting tone at the end. Where you wait and you can go higher. That gives it a little bit of a shape. Like a breath. You can do some of those. You can do all 5 notes, 4 notes, 3 notes, 2 notes. Doesn't really matter. Cluster. Just want to get comfortable with that 5-finger pattern. Okay, so I'll give you just about 30 seconds on that. Okay, so now we're going to move to the next one. This is just C major 5-finger pattern. Easy. So you can put some notes together. Clusters. Just play around with the C major. Okay, so now we're going to put them together a little bit. So you can play around with your A Phrygian. Maybe I should change my camera. And then you're going to go to your B flat Lydian, C major, B flat Lydian, and the nice thing to do first is just cluster them all so you really know where you're going. Just going up and then back down. So try that first, just clustered, and then see if you can make little melodies. You can do it higher. And you can hear how I'm doing kind of a long phrase. Long phrase. And then it goes quicker on the C, B flat. And longer. But don't worry too much about the counting and the rhythm, but that's the general feel of it, is a long, and then more of a short, long. All right, so play around with that for a second. That should be very fun. How's everyone doing so far? Good? Are you all able to do it? Does anyone feel like I can't do this? I feel like it's such clear little boundaries that you should be able to create something out of there. Even if you don't love it at first, you should feel like, okay, I'm doing this. And okay, so next, let's try, we're just gonna add a few of the chords instead of just a single tone. And if anyone joined us late, I'm looking at the Flamenco Sounds handout, and we're just combining these different little tiny 5-finger patterns. So there's the A, Flamenco Phrygian, so it has B flat, C sharp, and then the B flat Lydian, so you have E instead of E flat, and then C major. So just improvising using those 5 notes of like little 5-finger patterns. And the bass is A flat, or A, B flat, C. Okay, so next let's make it just a little chord. So the main chords we're using here are just an A major, B flat major. So there's that flat 2, which gives it that flavor. And then C major, B flat, A major. So you can do the same type of thing over your chord. Alternate. Okay, so just improvise off that for a second with the more of a chord. And you can change registers if you'd like. Another thing that's fun is if you do the chord, and then you can do like just the bass note. So you kind of mix up the chord and an octave to give it a fuller sound. All right, how's everyone doing? Good. Okay, so let's move to the full scale now. So if you look at the next part, it's the flamenco Phrygian. So we're starting with the same 5 notes of everything that we just did, but we're going to fill it out to the whole mode. So there's your A flamenco Phrygian. And you're just using 1, 2, 3, thumb under to D. And then I recommend, I know we normally don't do scales with a pedal, but you want that wash of sound. So feel free to pedal. And see if you can go up and down a few octaves. And if you just remember that 4 plays G, you'll be on track. And after you can do that, see if you can mix up the notes. I'm just going up and down, not really thinking about what I'm doing. You can do it by skips. You just want to get really comfortable with that mode. Okay, so now we're going to do just a little A drone, and it's always fun to do a tremolo. So a tremolo is when we shake the notes. So you can do an A octave. If your hand is smaller, you can do a fifth. You don't have to do it a lot. You can just a little bit. You just want that effect. And then improvise using any of the tones of that flamenco Phrygian. So I believe that is a really big part of being able to improvise, is being able to see the whole piano. So I'm not just seeing this one little scale and staying in these tiny notes. I'm seeing the whole thing with this A, B flat, C sharp, D, E, F, G, A. Doesn't matter the register. So just being able to see those notes across the whole piano, not within a small range. And that gives you much more freedom to improvise. Right, so just play around with exploring those tones. And thinking in groups is also helpful. Like if you think of, you've got this A, B flat, C sharp, D, E, F, G. And then you're able to, the mind likes when we can see things in groups like that. All right, so I'll just mute for Okay, now we're going to do this type of thing on E flat Lydian. So we're going to expand to the whole scale again. So it's those same first 5 notes that we had. And then we're just going to add G, A, B flat to finish it out. And the fingering, as I wrote, it starts on 3. And then the thumb immediately goes under. And thumb again on F. So it's the same as E flat major, but you're going to do E instead of E flat. Okay, so try that out. Put some pedal. See if you can expand it. Go up and down. And then after that, we'll start mixing them up more. So this one fits really nicely in the hand. So 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, if you can think in those groups, it's very helpful. All right, let's move on to C mixolydian. So it's just like C major, except we have B flat. Just like that, except and here, just keep in mind 4 plays B flat, and you'll stay on track as you expand your range. And then, of course, you want to mix it up. So it's like, can you start and stop and go up, go down? How well can you really know the mode rather than just... So it's kind of limiting, right? That's where we start, but then... That's where you're able to really play with the language and really create fun things off of your knowledge. Okay, so once you have all of those, then you just do what we did with the 5-finger pattern, but now you're doing the whole scale. So you can do some tremolos or the chord. So it's kind of like a really flowery, busy way. You can simplify it. Just explore those notes that are in there. So that would be sort of like a more simplified option. Questions before you try that out? No? Okay. So you can get as, I just keep thinking of the word flowery for some reason, as busy as you want it to be, or you can just keep it very simple, stay in 1 octave, or even just stay in those 5-finger patterns. So I love to do differentiated learning. So maybe you're just at that 5-finger pattern stage, and that's a lot for you to remember. Completely fine. Maybe, okay, I've got these 1 octave scales or modes, however you want to think of them. I'm just going to stay with those. Or maybe you've already been familiar with them and you're ready to just fly up and down, turn all around, try different rhythms. So it really just depends on your level and your comfort with improvising. So I'll give you a few, like 30 more seconds to try that out. And I want you to feel completely fine about whichever stage you're in. So if you're in that 5-finger pattern, try not to feel like, oh, too bad I'm not able to do all that crazy stuff. Just say, okay, that's all right. That's where I am. I'm going to try this. And it still sounds fun. So just explore it for about 30 more seconds. And then the last thing we'll do is, I just gave you a free copy of Lament, which is from my Little Gems for Piano Volume 2 book. And so Lament is that cry in flamenco where they sing and it's almost like, oh, because it has that, it's like a cry, it's a cry out. So that's why I called it Lament. But this piece has the tremolo. It has a similar flamenco Phrygian scale that we worked on. So Marilyn wrote a private message that I'll respond to in a little bit. Good to see you, Marilyn. Yeah, there she is. Okay, so with Lament, I mixed up minor. So I used A minor going up and then coming back down, I did more of the flamenco Phrygian. But I thought it could be fun. If you can do it as written. So you can hear it's minor and then more of those flamenco Phrygian. Minor. And then you can go through the whole piece and do all B flat and C sharp. So that will give it that real flamenco Phrygian type of sound. Some of those, and then you just go higher. And I highly recommend you to play around with the rhythm. So slow and then fast. So the whole point of this is to be very, very flexible with your rhythm. So I think I was talking, but bar 5, do the B flat C sharp. And you can just do a 5th if it's hard for you. Still sounds good. Or for your students. So easiest option is a 5th. Second option is tremolo on a 5th. And they don't have to do it for very long. You can just get that effect going and then do the melody. And then most advanced option is the octave tremolo. So that's just a fun little sheet that you can try to learn, or maybe you want to teach it to some of your students. So there's different ways to play around with it. Either keep it exactly as written, or you can add those B flats and C sharps, and it gives it even more of that flamenco Phrygian type of sound. All right, any questions from anybody? Anne.
Is there like a 1-4-5 at all in this style?
Good question. There's so much stepwise motion. I can't really think of a lot of 1-4-5 type harmonies. You know, it has like. That's again just that stepwise motion. But then there's the whole flamenco jazz world, and that's combining all sorts of intricate harmonies. And that's a pretty popular combination. But yeah, a lot of the harmonies that come to mind are very stepwise, like another. Again, just descending. A lot of them are just by step. Good question.
I have a question on Lament. You go from cut time to 5/4 to 6/4. Could you play that for me?
Yeah, it's all meant to be very, very free with the rhythm. So I actually didn't even really notice that till you pointed it out just now. Because I just think of it as these phrases, but if you really did it rhythmically. And then fermata, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Fermata, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. But that's harder for me to think of it that way. So I always just tell students, really play with the timing, start slow and then speed up. And just hearing that little phrase. And it's the same, but just goes higher. You're just trying to speed up and slow down, hearing the phrase more than counting it. It'd be easier, actually. Any other questions? Okay, thumbs up if this was fun for you. Yay! So glad. So we will be meeting again tomorrow. Tomorrow we're doing more of a tango style. Based off of one of my pieces from my album called Central Star. So that's what we'll be working on tomorrow. And I'm offering a piano flow summer intensive in June. It's all of June and the first week of July. And we're working a lot on these types of styles and also just on free flowing improvisation. So how to just sit down at the piano and create your own music if you're not used to improvising. So if anyone is interested in that at all, please feel free to reach out. You can write me an email or type it in the chat, whatever you want to do if you're interested in hearing more about that. So I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow, and reach out in between if you have any questions or any comments about anything.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Jimmy. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, Andrea. And, bye, Lydia. How are you doing? And then Marilyn, if you want to stay on, I'd be happy to talk with you. How's it going, Lydia?
Oh, fine. I had the other chores, so I joined late.
No problem.
Yeah, I will email you about, what my plan is.
Okay, no rush. Are you coming tomorrow?